cappuccino.
Tung 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 sahur. Tralalero tralala.
Ballerina cappuccina.
It was one of those days where the air itself felt heavy. Deadlines, coffee jitters, and that migraine that never really goes away. I was exhausted, mentally fried, when I looked up from my screen and nearly screamed. Sam, my co-worker, was standing there smiling. Or something that used to be Sam. Usually pristine and polished. Today she looked like a puppet half alive. Her face was pale and waxy. Her eyes were swallowed in deep, dark rings, and her forehead swollen, as if something inside was pressing outward.
Hello, tralalero, tralala?
She chirped in a sing-song voice that didn't belong to her. I blinked, startled. What? She giggled, her expression twitching between joy and emptiness.
Oh, you're such a fossil. Haven't you seen the brain rot universe? It's trending on TikTok.
What's it about? I asked. She tilted his head.
It's just brain rot. It doesn't mean anything. That's why it's perfect.
And then she laughed, loud and broken, before walking away. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But it was only the beginning. The next day, more co-workers had the look. Sunken eyes, pale skin, puffy heads like overripe fruit. They wandered the office, muttering absurd phrases.
It's tung sahur time.
Do you want to try ballerina cappuccino?
And every time they laughed together. Giggles like wind chimes in a hurricane. I didn't understand what was happening. I stopped getting Slack messages, emails, eye contact. No one spoke to me unless I repeated their nonsense. It was like they spoke a new language, and I was suddenly illiterate. Outside the office, it was worse. Random people on the street babbled the same phrases. Whole cafes filled with chuckling strangers, nodding at videos in silence. I felt like a relic, forgotten by time. And still, no one could tell me what brain rot actually was. I found out the hard way. On my way home from the supermarket, I saw a man standing under a flickering street lamp. He was laughing hysterically, phone in hand, eyes bloodshot. The air around him felt wrong. Then the screen of his phone glitched, and something crawled out. A creature, half smoke, half flesh, launched at his face. He screamed, tried to pull it off, but it clung like a parasite. I ran to help, but the thing was already latched onto his skull. He twisted, convulsed. The creature breathed, pulsing like it was drinking him, siphoning blood, thoughts, sanity. When it was done, he collapsed. And then he rose, grinning.
Liri lilarila, cappuccino assassino.
He said softly. I stumbled back, shaking. That was the moment I realized brain rot was real, not just a trend, a parasite spreading like a virus, using content as its doorway. After that night, I saw it everywhere. People collapsed at work. Some clawed at their heads, trying to peel the creature off as it wriggled under their scalp. I tried CPR on one guy, but the monster had already sucked out whatever made him human. It slipped out of him with a wet hiss and vanished, like smoke dissolving in sunlight. The doctor later said he'd suffered a stroke, that his brain had deteriorated from overuse, lack of sleep, screen exposure. His brain had literally rotted. Brain rot. I tried to defend myself. I deleted all my apps, locked my phone away, covered my windows, but it didn't matter. The brain rot videos no longer needed your permission. They played in waiting rooms, office lobbies, subway ads. Sometimes I could hear the audio before I even saw a screen echoing in the back of my skull. Even without looking, I could feel the presence. I fought them off for days. I saw the creatures, swatted them away when they tried to leap at me. But no matter how many I escaped, they just kept multiplying. They were evolving, feeding, and growing bigger. One day, I was surrounded, cornered in an alleyway behind the office, flanked by people I once knew, now brainwashed shells of themselves. Their eyes bulged, their skin sagged like wet cloth, but their mouths, smiling, endlessly smiling. They spoke in unison.
Do you want to try ballerina cappuccino? Tra-la-la, tra-la-la, saha time.
I covered my ears, shut my eyes. Didn't work. They grabbed me, held me down. I felt fingers pry my eyelids open. Someone shoved a phone inches from my face. The screen flickered. I screamed. Too late. It came. The creature tore through the screen like a riptide and latched onto my face. It was sticky and hot, like liquid panic, forcing itself through my skin, drilling into my skull. I writhed. They held me tighter. The audio looped. The images flashed. Bright, dumb colors and deformed faces dancing over meaningless music. It was torture. It was hollow. And then, something shifted. I stopped fighting. Suddenly it felt nice, light, funny. The sounds weren't meaningless anymore. They were funny. I smiled, I giggled. Do din 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 do. I felt the rocks settle into my brain like a warm bath. The pain vanished. Everything made sense now. Ballerina cappuccino. Tralalero tralala. I looked up at the others, my new family, and we laughed together. And now I see you. You're still watching, aren't you? Go ahead. Scroll down. Just once more. Let brain rot in. On all my hunting trips, I had never let any prey escape my grasp. If a noble prince like me desired something, it would surely become mine. As I was enjoying my victory, a loud noise suddenly caught my attention. An ugly frog was swimming in the pond. Its slimy body disgusted me. Since childhood, I've always hated frogs. Then, a mischievous idea crossed my mind. I tied the frog to a heavy rock and tossed it back in the water. Look at how it struggled helplessly made me laugh. But just as I was laughing, something horrifying happened. The frog exploded, splattering sticky slime all over me. Pain tore through my body like fire. My skin turned slimy. My hands disappeared, replaced by webbed toes. I tried to scream, but only a disgusting ribbit came out. I looked into the water and saw my most hated reflection. I had become an ugly, wart-covered frog. Then, an old voice spoke beside me.
This is your curse. You shall suffer for cruelly tormenting an innocent creature. To break it, you must receive a kiss from the one true princess.
I was fighting against my frog instincts. How could a noble prince like me endure such a thing? I belonged in a grand palace, dining on golden plates and sleeping in a warm bed. I couldn't stand these miserable days. Suddenly, I heard crying near the pond. Wasn't that a beautiful princess? I hurried over. My fair princess, why do you weep so bitterly?
A talking frog? Well, I suppose that doesn't matter now. I'm crying because my beloved golden ball has fallen into the water.
I knew this was my chance. Do not cry, princess. I can retrieve your golden ball. But what will you give me in return?
Whatever you wish. I would give all my fine clothes and jewels and everything that I have in the world.
I seek no jewels nor fine robes. I shall return your golden ball, if you promise to let me stay in your palace, dine from your golden plate, rest in your soft bed, and grant me a good-night kiss.
Very well. I promise. Just bring me back my golden ball.
I leaped into the water. In just a few moments I found the ball. But as soon as I hopped back onto the shore, the princess snatched the ball from me.
What nonsense you speak! A filthy frog like you could never belong by my side. Now go away!
She laughed mockingly and ran off. Furious, I chased after her. When I reached the magnificent palace, I saw the princess happily playing with her golden ball. I leaped in front of her. You made me a promise, princess. You must keep your word.
Go away, you disgusting frog!
But I refused to give up. Each night I croaked at her window, disturbing her sleep.
You awful frog! You're so noisy and annoying! Fine. You may eat from a golden plate and sleep in a soft bed, but only for one day. Then back to your filthy pond.
And what about the kiss, princess? I swear, just one kiss, and I'll leave.
Very well.
At last, I dined from a golden plate and rested on a luxurious bed. I felt like a prince once more. Now, princess, give me a kiss. Without warning, she tied me to the golden ball.
Did you really think I'd kiss an ugly frog? Keep dreaming. You're nothing but my plaything now.
The princess showed no mercy. Dart after dart whizzed past me as I leaped in terror. My body grew heavier. I struggled helplessly, just like the frog I'd once tormented in the pond. Was this my punishment? Then a searing pain coursed through my body. My warty skin burst open, spewing foul slime. The princess was laughing with delight when, all of a sudden, thick, slimy liquid splattered onto her. The princess screamed in terror. She collapsed to the ground, her body trembling violently. The princess had transformed into a grotesque frog. Heavy footsteps thundered down the hall. Then the guards burst into the chamber. The frog princess panicked and leapt through the window into the night. As for me, I lay gasping on the floor, too weak to move. There was nothing left but to accept my grim fate. The curse had claimed us both.
This is your curse. To break it, you must receive a kiss from the one true prince.
Everyone at the market called me a thief or a street rat, but I didn't care much. I was just an ordinary guy struggling to get food and survive each day. So what if I stole? I didn't need anyone's approval. This time, I stole the lamp from the antique dealer. I heard it was the most valuable item he was bringing to the noble's auction. But the lamp was old and scratched. I wiped off the dust covering the lamp. Once, twice. By the sixth wipe, the lamp suddenly shook violently. Red smoke poured from its spout. When the smoke cleared, a massive figure with a deep, booming voice appeared before me.
I am the genie. You have awakened me from my long slumber, and now you are my master. I I shall grant you 3 wishes. But be careful what you wish for, because I will fulfill them in my own way.
I trembled at the genie's appearance, but excitement soon drowned out my fear. Since birth, I'd never owned anything of value. The things I stole barely got me a few coins, just enough for scraps of bread to fill my empty stomach after days of hunger. I wouldn't waste this chance. Without hesitation, I made my first wish. I wished to become the richest man in the kingdom.
Your wish is my command.
That night, as I slept, a strange light jolted me awake. Unbelievable. Treasure chests appeared before me, filled with shiny gold, silver, and jewels. I picked up a gold coin, but my fingers met a sticky, metallic stench, like blood.
You wish to be the richest, and so you are. For there are no wealthy men left. They are all dead.
My grin froze. The treasure chests belonged to the nobles of the kingdom. The genie had slaughtered them all, and now their riches were mine. I glanced at the blood-streaked gold, the metallic scent growing stronger. No matter. They were mine now. I was the richest. From this day on, I'd drown in silk and luxury.
You have 2 wishes left. Be careful what you wish for.
I dressed in fancy silk robes and shiny jewels. Wherever I went, crowds gasped with envy. Then my eyes were drawn to a stunning figure. It was Princess Jasmine. I had all the gold and silver I could ever want, but now I desired more. I wanted her. I wanted to possess the most beautiful woman in the kingdom. I approached the princess and gave her a dazzling gemstone. "Oh, beautiful Princess Jasmine, I fell in love with you at first sight. Will you grant me the honor of being your beloved?"
Silk and jewels can't hide your vulgar and lowly nature. Stay away from me. I would never accept a street rat like you.
As she walked away, my pride shattered. I couldn't accept this. I pulled out the lamp and made my second wish. I wished the princess's heart. She must be mine. That night, as I polished my treasure chests, the genie appeared. He dropped a dripping, bloodied heart into my palm.
Your second wish is granted. The princess's love is yours. Remember, you have only 1 final wish remaining.
News of the princess's murder shocked the entire kingdom. The king ordered soldiers to hunt down the killer in every corner of the kingdom. No, I can't be caught. As I turned to escape, I crashed right into a soldier.
Seize him! This is the suspect seen with the princess!
In my panic, I grabbed the lamp and shouted my final wish. "Make me king! I want to rule this kingdom!" When I awoke, I was inside the king's palace, but the sight before me was horrifying. The genie held the king's severed head like a trophy. His monstrous grin chilled me to the bone.
Your final wish has been granted. You are now the king of this kingdom.
He tossed the head at my feet. Overwhelmed by terror, I staggered and vomited.
Enjoy your wishes.
Suddenly, the doors burst open. Soldiers stormed inside.
Arrest him! He slaughtered the nobles, the princess, and now our king! We won't tolerate this monster!
Too broken to resist, I let them drag me away. In that moment, I realized that my life was ruined. This was the price for my 3 greedy wishes.
I have always believed that knowledge is power, a glimpse into the future, A mere whisper of what is to come would be enough to change the course of fate. And why shouldn't I be the one to wield such power? I was beautiful. I was intelligent. I was persuasive. There was nothing I could not obtain. So when Apollo came to me offering the greatest gift of all, the sight beyond time, I did not hesitate. But the gods are never so generous.
Love me,
He murmured, his golden hands caressing the air between us.
and I will make you the voice of the gods.
I laughed. Did he think I would give my heart so freely? I wanted his gift, not his affections. I turned away. His face did not twist in rage, nor did he strike me down. No, his vengeance was crueler. He left me my gift, the sight of what is to come, but stripped me of the power to change it.
You will see the doom of all you love, yet your words will fall like wind upon deaf ears. This is my gift to you, Cassandra, and you will pray for death before the end.
I thought his curse meant disbelief, but now I know the truth. His punishment is far worse. The first time I saw the future, it was like drowning. I fell to my knees, clutching my throat, my vision blackening at the edges. Images tore through my mind like rusted daggers, smoke rising from the walls of Troy, the sky painted in hues of blood. I opened my mouth to scream, but only black bile poured forth, thick and reeking of decay. It dribbled down my chin, burned my throat, filled my lungs. I gasped for air. The court recoiled from me. "She's gone mad," someone whispered. My father, King Priam, looked at me with something that was not quite fear, but something worse. Pity. I wiped my mouth, my fingers stained black. "Troy will burn," I rasped. "Paris must not go to Sparta. He must not take Helen. If he does, we are all dead." Silence. Then laughter. The nobles shook their heads, exchanging knowing glances. "Poor Cassandra," they murmured. "She was always strange." Paris smiled, placing a hand on my shoulder.
Sister, you worry too much. The gods favor us.
I stared at him, watching as behind him, his face melted into something grotesque. His skull split open, his flesh rotted away, his eyes sunken and black with death. But when I blinked, he was normal again. He left for Sparta the next morning. The prophecies did not stop. Each time they came, they took more of me. My body weakened. My skin grew clammy, stretched too tight over my bones. My hands shook. And always, after every vision, the bile would rise, spilling from my lips in thick, oozing waves. The people whispered, "She's cursed." She speaks of death, and death follows. She brings ruin. My father locked me away. Guards stood at my door. The palace halls echoed with my screams. I saw it all. The siege, the starvation, the slaughter, my brothers cut down, my father's blood staining the marble floors, my people screaming as they burned, and yet I was powerless. Helen arrived in Troy, her beauty shining like a cursed star. I lunged at her, shrieking, "You are death! You will destroy us all!" The black bile poured from my lips, pooling at my feet. The smell of rot filled the air. Helen did not flinch. She merely tilted her head, smiling, and whispered,
"Then let it begin."
The war dragged on. Years of blood, of bodies piled high at the gates. I warned them, Troy will fall, Troy will fall. But my words meant nothing. Then, one day, the battlefield was empty. The Greeks were gone, and in their place, a gift. A massive wooden horse standing silently outside the gates. No, this was a trick. I saw them already, the warriors hiding inside, their blades gleaming in the dark. I saw them emerging in the dead of night, slaughtering my people as they slept. I saw fire licking at the walls, the screams of children, the streets running red. The bile rose as I screamed, my voice raw and broken. "Burn it! Burn it now before it's too late!" They laughed. They called me a madwoman, a harbinger of doom. "Enough, Cassandra," they spat. "Enough of your madness." The gates opened. The horse was brought inside. That night, the slaughter began. I awoke to the scent of blood. The screams of my people filled the air. The Greeks were everywhere, their blades cutting through flesh. their torches setting the city ablaze. Smoke burned my lungs and I stumbled through the chaos, my dress drenched in bile and blood. The visions flashed faster now. Priam's throat slit open, my brothers' heads on spikes, the temple floors slick with gore. I saw it all before it happened, my mind screaming warnings that no one could hear. Apollo's laughter echoed through the flames. This was his curse. Not just that no one believed me, but that I had to witness it all. Again, and again, and again. I was dragged from the burning ruins, my wrists bound. The Greeks would not kill me yet. I was to be taken, a prize of war. I lifted my gaze one final time. Apollo stood in the smoke, his golden eyes gleaming. He had won. Troy was gone. But I remained, a prophetess of death, a ghost in my own skin. I would live, and I would see every horror yet to come.
I was Corporal Thomas Baker. I served in the army. Every morning we collected the dead. Every night the sky exploded with gunfire. Screams tore through the dark. There was no peace, no rest, not even in sleep. And yet, in the middle of all that death, the only thing that brought me comfort was our meals. While the other units gnawed on cold beans and tough jerky, we sat down to steaming stew so fragrant it felt like a gift from the gods. The man behind it all was Sam Gray. We called him Uncle Sam. He was technically the cook, but to us he was more than that. He was a savior. No matter how bad the war got, Uncle Sam made sure we never went hungry. But then, things started to feel wrong. It was just another ordinary day on the front lines. By dinner, we were still laughing and cracking jokes like always. But unlike usual, the stew that night was incredible. Rich, flavorful, and so tender it melted the moment it touched the tongue. A few minutes later, things slowly began to change. One by one, people clutched their stomachs, dizzy and nauseous. At first, I thought it was nothing more than a stomach bug. But then it hit me too. Just as I was chewing a piece of meat, my throat tightened. I gagged, unable to breathe. I coughed hard, over and over, until something dropped into my hand. It was a fingernail. It looked human. I stared down at the meat left on my plate. Something felt wrong. The texture looked off. The color was too dark. I tried to reassure myself. Maybe it was just low-quality pork or a tough cut of old beef. But that fingernail, I couldn't make sense of it. I went to Uncle Sam and asked him what kind of meat we were really eating. He gave me the same warm smile he always did.
Don't worry, son. It's fresh meat.
But when I asked if I could see the kitchen, that smile vanished.
That area is off limits. Orders from above, Thomas.
There was something off about the way Uncle Sam responded. It felt like he was trying to cover something up. I couldn't just leave it alone. I had to find out the truth. Dawn had just broken. While the entire camp was still asleep, I quietly followed Uncle Sam. He walked with a light step, whistling softly, a basket swinging from his hand like he was just heading to the market to choose the best cut of meat. Maybe I should have turned back. I should have stayed out of it. But something in me said I couldn't stop now. Uncle Sam made his way to a locked shed behind the mess hall. I crept along the side and found a crack in the wooden wall. I leaned in and looked through, and what I saw was hell. There were bodies stacked high like slabs of meat in a slaughterhouse, bloodied and tangled together, still dressed in enemy uniforms. The stench hit me like a wave, thick, foul, rotting. Was this really the same smell I had once craved at dinner? Uncle Sam stepped up to one of the corpses, calm and unbothered. He pressed his fingers into the thigh like he was testing a cut of steak.
Then he pulled out a knife, sliced a thick piece from the leg, and dropped it into the basket. All the while, he kept whistling like nothing was wrong. Another man entered.
Is this batch good, sir?
Fresh like this. It'd be a shame to waste it.
I stumbled backward, hands trembling from the horror I had just witnessed. I threw up behind the shed, and then everything went dark. I woke up tied to a chair, thick ropes dug into my wrists. In front of me was a metal table lined with plates of steaming meat. Uncle Sam stood nearby, wiping a carving knife, smiling like we were about to sit down for a warm family dinner.
You're awake, Thomas. Good.
You made us eat human flesh. You turned us into monsters.
Just the bodies of the enemy. You think the vultures would have let them rest in peace? So why should we waste them? People need food to survive.
I couldn't believe what I'd heard. My throat tightened with nausea, but somehow I felt a gnawing hunger rising inside me. Uncle Sam picked up a slice of freshly roasted meat.
You're special, Thomas. Others get sick. But you're adapting.
I shook my head. No, I'm not like you. But when he held the meat to my lips, I ate it. My stomach twisted violently. My muscles jerked like something was crawling beneath my flesh. Veins bulged across my arms, twitching like they were trying to escape. But then, it stopped. My body settled.
See, you're evolving. You are the future.
I had become Uncle Sam's experiment. He said the meat crisis would be a thing of the past, that everything would be taken care of. I told myself I hated him. But hunger erased everything. And God, I needed that taste like I was losing my mind.
Madame, his body is reaching its limit. If you wish to maintain your youth, we'll need other options.
Useless.
I never thought I would sell my soul for money. But when you're drowning in debt, morality becomes a luxury. A few months ago, I was just another struggling actor barely scraping by in a city that chews people up and spits them out. I was months behind on rent. Creditors hounded me and my stomach was almost always empty. I spent my nights rehearsing monologues I never got to perform, hoping for a breakthrough that never came. Then she came, Madame Jennifer, a star of the past, still dazzling, still powerful. I met her during a casting call. I didn't even get the role, but she had other plans for me. She invited me to dinner, proposed something outrageous.
Be mine,
she whispered over a glass of wine, her fingers cold against my wrist.
I'll give you everything.
I thought she was joking, but when she laid out the terms, weekly dates on Mondays, complete financial security, and a life of luxury, I said yes. Who wouldn't? It felt like fate, like my suffering had finally been rewarded. At first, it was perfect. She paid off my debts, dressed me in designer suits, took me to the most exclusive restaurants. I lived in a penthouse with a view of the entire city. It was intoxicating. Every Monday, I accompanied her to extravagant venues, art galleries, five-star hotels, opera houses. She always had a way of making me feel important, her arm linked with mine as if I were her equal. I ignored the whispers from the other guests, the lingering glances of curiosity and envy. But then, the medical exams started.
It's just routine,
she said, brushing my worries aside. Her private doctor, an eerie man with hollow eyes, asked the strangest questions about my diet, my health, my family history. He always took my blood, always smiling when he finished. I thought it was odd, but the money drowned out my concerns.
You're perfect,
he told me once. Jennifer's lips curled into a satisfied smile. That week she saw me 3 times instead of 1. I should have left then, but greed is a cruel thing. Then I noticed something terrifying. Jennifer was aging, not gradually but rapidly. The woman who had seemed in her 40s now looked like she was pushing 70. Her skin sagged, her voice grew weak, and her eyes, once sharp, became cloudy. It was as if she had aged decades overnight. I asked about it. She dismissed me.
Just stress, darling.
Then she stopped seeing me altogether. My calls went unanswered, my texts ignored. A week passed, then 2. I worried. Not for her, but for myself. If she abandoned me, my luxurious life would crumble. Then, one night, she sent a lavish dinner to my penthouse with a note. I'll be away for a bit. Enjoy. I indulged, too drunk on wine and pleasure to care. I slept deeply that night, but something was wrong. In the middle of the night, I awoke to a dull pain in my arm. My body felt sluggish, my limbs heavy. It felt like I was submerged in thick water, unable to move properly. Then I saw her. A decrepit old woman hovered over me, holding a syringe of blood. My scream caught in my throat as the shadows shifted. The more blood she took, the younger she became. Her wrinkles smoothed, her hunched form straightened. And then I recognized her. Jennifer. I yanked the needle from my arm and bolted. My heart pounded as I stumbled toward the door. My vision swam, my body felt weak, but adrenaline pushed me forward. I could hear her breathing heavily behind me, the sound transforming from the ragged wheeze of an old woman to something stronger, something predatory.
You shouldn't have done that!
She hissed, her voice regaining its seductive lilt. Before I could reach the exit, something struck the back of my head. Darkness swallowed me whole. I woke up restrained in a sterile, dimly lit laboratory. The air was cold, filled with the hum of machines. Tubes were attached to me, siphoning my blood. My arms felt numb, my body cold. I turned my head, dizziness washing over me as I took in the horror around me. There were other tanks, other bodies, unconscious, hooked to machines just like me. Men, young and beautiful, lifelessly drained. How many had there been before me? How many more would there be after? Across the room, Jennifer stood before a mirror, radiant and youthful once more, admiring herself. Her skin glowed with vitality, her posture poised, her lips full of color. It was as if she had been reborn. I struggled against the restraints, a choked sob escaping my lips. The fourth lines in my arms pulsed with a sickening rhythm, my life force flowing into her veins. My head swam, the edges of my vision blurring. She approached, her fingers brushing against my face. Cold. Too cold.
I was afraid for a moment. Afraid you wouldn't be the right fit. But you were perfect.
Her doctor appeared from the shadows, checking the monitors, nodding approvingly.
He still has enough to last another round.
My chest tightened. I wasn't dying. At least, not yet. They weren't done with me. Jennifer leaned in, her lips nearly touching my ear.
Don't worry. When I'm done, I'll find someone new.
As my vision darkened, I tried to scream, but my voice was already gone. The machine continued its work.
My eyes were glued to the screen. The scene made me jump and scream, instinctively leaning back.
Ian!
I looked up, straight into my teacher's furious eyes. My classmates snickered. I flipped my phone face down on the desk, shrugging with a grin. "It's just a movie, sir." That only made him angrier. He started yelling, but I didn't bother listening. I just stood up, grabbed my phone, and walked out of class. I never liked sitting in class. Boring lectures, the teacher's monotone voice. It all made me want to fall asleep. Today was no different. I pulled out my phone, scrolling for something more interesting. Maybe a game to kill time. My fingers tapped on the screen, focused, then cold. A drop of water landed on my forehead. I frowned, wiped it away, and looked up. Patches of mold spread across the walls and water dripped down slowly. This really is a rundown school. The damp, musty smell in the air is strong enough to make my nose sting. I'm not sure if it's just a coincidence or if the school's water pipes have actually been affected by the construction site next door. But ever since they started digging up the pipes, my school has gotten more and more damp. The walls, ceiling, and even the floor are all wet, with some spots even dripping water.
I wonder when the school is finally going to fix the water pipes.
Yeah, the bathroom is basically turning moss green. Who knows how many centipedes or cockroaches are in there? That's terrifying.
And every time someone walks on the wet floor in slippers, the annoying squelching sound echoes throughout the hallway. This learning environment is seriously frustrating. There are just too many distractions. Maybe I should go to the bathroom to get some peace and quiet. I walked into the bathroom. As expected, during class hours, it was completely empty. Even though the place was damp and moldy and the toilet was so filthy that I had to squat on top of it, I could still endure it for the sake of some peace and quiet. I pulled out my phone and continued the game I'd left unfinished. Just as I was getting annoyed at the greedy game developer for shoving the 8th ad into my game, a familiar voice made me freeze.
Yes, I'm talking about Ian, your student. He was watching movies in my class again today.
Ugh, that annoying teacher again. I had already hidden in the bathroom, yet I still couldn't escape his rude scolding. I tried to ignore his voice and focused on my game. A moment later, the words, "Game over," flashed on the screen. Frustrated, I cursed under my breath. Running into that teacher was just bad luck, but then I suddenly realized I couldn't hear his voice anymore. Instead, a soft moaning sound came from the stall next to me. The thin partition between the two stalls trembled slightly in rhythm with the sound. I smirked. What the hell was that disgusting old man doing over there? I grabbed my phone, turned on the camera, and slipped it through the gap between the stalls to record some evidence. But suddenly, the lights in the bathroom flickered. I looked around in confusion, but a moment later, the lights flickered back on. But as soon as I looked at the screen, I froze. It wasn't what I expected. My teacher was sitting on the bathroom floor, his whole body turning purple. A huge snake was slithering into his mouth. His eyes were rolled back, and dark blood was oozing from snake bites on his neck. I screamed, dropping my phone. The bathroom lights flickered on and off. My breath was shaky as I bent down to pick up my phone. Then I heard a strange noise from the toilet. My heart pounded. I quickly flushed the toilet, hoping it was just my imagination. But it wasn't. The toilet lid started shaking. Thick, black water spilled over the edge, filling the air with a horrible stench. I covered my mouth, trying not to gag. The lid shook even harder. Panicked, I grabbed the door handle, but it was stuck. No way. I yanked it, pounded on the door, but then, bam! The toilet lid flew open. A soaking wet rat jumped out, but right behind it, 3 or 4 snakes lunged, their red mouths wide open, snapping at the helpless rat. I screamed and kicked the door as hard as I could. Boom! The toilet exploded. Filthy water, trash, dead rats, and writhing snakes flew everywhere. I was thrown against the door, my body covered in grime. I gagged, almost too weak to move. But the disgusting creatures kept coming. More and more snakes slithered out of the toilet, coiling around me. Their red mouths opened wide, and then they struck. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the deep, blood-red darkness closing in on me.
Stefan, I curse you! One day a blade will pierce your heart. You will lose what you cherish most and die a gruesome death.
That terrifying dream again. That dark witch may have been destroyed by my own hands, but her dreadful curse still haunts me.
Father, wake up, what's wrong?
I just feel a little tired. Happy birthday, my dear Aurora. You're 16 now. After I defeated Maleficent and took over the sacred forest, the kingdom flourished, but one by one my loved ones left me. Now only Aurora remains. Aurora was born with a curse, that on her 16th birthday she would prick her finger on a spindle and fall into a deep sleep. But I burned every spinning wheel in the kingdom. I will prove that these curses are nothing but nonsense.
Your Majesty, the princess has collapsed in the basement. The curse has come true.
No, that's impossible. After days of trying everything to wake Aurora with no success, I had to accept the truth. The curse had really come true.
Your Majesty, all the witches in the kingdom have gathered at the palace.
But I won't give up. Aurora, sleep peacefully in your own castle. I will find a way to break this curse. The most powerful witches were summoned to the castle, yet none of them could offer anything useful. And yet, some still dare to slack off on their duties. Take the soldier on my left and execute him immediately. Trying to play tricks, are you? Eric, check on him for me.
Your Majesty, he has fallen into a deep sleep just like the princess.
My heart nearly stopped. A chill ran through my body. Could the curse still not be over? Within days, a strange sleeping plague spread across the kingdom. Anyone who closed their eyes would never open them again. I held a council that lasted for days, summoning every witch and healer in the land, but no one could find a way to stop it. Panic consumed the people. They did everything to stay awake, torturing themselves, taking stimulants, even cutting their own skin to fight off sleep. But in the end, exhaustion always won. More and more fell victim to the curse. They lay still like the dead, bodies warm, breath steady, yet completely unresponsive. Just like Aurora. No matter if this was a curse or something else, as king, I had to find a way to stop it. Beat him until he wakes up. The soldiers obeyed, landing a hard kick on the sleeping man. And he woke up as a monstrous, bloodthirsty creature. Kill them all! But those bitten turned into the same horrifying beasts. Like the zombie, the two monsters were slain with ease. But the danger was far from over, in fact. It was only beginning to spread. Issue an order across the entire kingdom. No one is allowed to wake the sleeping. But all my efforts to stop it were too late. The awakened zombies went on a rampage, infecting everyone around them. The kingdom fell into unprecedented chaos. Witches and healers were summoned once again. And once again, they left empty-handed. I could only gather the survivors within the castle, raising walls of thorns to keep the zombie at bay. But it was only a temporary measure. I knew that the only way to stop this was to find the source of the plague.
Aurora must be the cause. She's been dead, but the king refused to bury her. Her body must be spreading something unclean.
You think so too? The others are already planning to burn down the Rose Castle.
How dare you touch my daughter? Guards, stop them immediately. You beasts, stay away from my daughter.
Your Majesty, let us destroy the source of the plague. It's the only way to end this.
No, my daughter is not the source. This is a curse. Maleficent's curse. Suddenly, horrifying screams filled the air. The beautiful roses twisted and turned into bloodthirsty monsters. At this moment, I had to admit it. This was Maleficent's revenge, and I had lost completely. Maleficent, I know you're still out there. I betrayed you all those years ago, but Aurora is innocent. Out of nowhere, the thorny vines slowly parted, revealing a path leading to the castle. I walked into the castle with ease, making my way to Aurora's bedside. She lay there peacefully, as if at any moment she would open her eyes, look at me with those beautiful blue irises and call out, "Father." Maleficent, Aurora has done nothing wrong. Give her back to me. I'm willing to trade my life for hers. A bone-chilling cold surged through my body. My strength drained in an instant. My skin shriveled, my limbs withered, my flesh dried up like a corpse drained of blood. Aurora opened her eyes, but she was no longer my beloved daughter.
Stefan, I never thought someone like you could truly love another.
Maleficent? Why is it you? Where is my daughter? How dare you use her body to house your filthy soul?
Father, why would you call me a filthy soul? I erased all my hatred so I could be reborn as your daughter. We've been a happy father and child for 16 years, haven't we?
No, this can't be.
Thank you, Father. Thanks to your genuine love, the sleeping curse has been broken. And now, my soul has awakened once more, along with every memory of my past life. This kingdom of lies and cruelty, these people who destroyed my sacred forest, they will all pay the price. They will all become part of the forest's fungi.
Hey, my lovelies. Linda here, and today, we're diving into something revolutionary. Derma Glow Extreme Peel. Promises a whole new you, overnight. A fresh start. Literally. And who doesn't want to wake up looking brand new? The packaging was undeniably opulent and minimalist lettering that whispered of luxury. Ooh, fancy. Let's see what the hype is about. I unfolded the instructions, my eyes scanning the fine print. Become a new person in one night? Bold claim. But the reviews, they're glowing. A flicker of unease danced across my features. The brand was unsettlingly obscure, almost non-existent, yet the before and after photos were impossibly perfect. This was sent to me by a high-end skincare brand. They claim it's dermatologist approved, though there's not much info about them online. Still, the reviews are amazing, so let's give it a go. I squeezed a dollop of the pearlescent serum onto my fingertips. The texture was cool, almost icy, a stark contrast to the growing heat in the studio lights. Feels nice. A little tingle, but nothing crazy. I applied it all over my face, meticulously following the instructions. The initial coolness morphed into a subtle warmth, then a prickling heat that made my skin tighten. Okay, feeling that kick in. This is just it working its magic. A little facial workout. A very intense facial workout. A few minutes ticked by, each one an eternity. The heat intensified, morphing into a searing burn that made my skin feel like it was stretched to breaking point. I glanced at the mirror, my breath hitching. My face was a grotesque shade of crimson, tiny red bumps erupting like angry volcanoes. Whoa, that's intense. Definitely working. Wow, it's definitely potent. But beauty is pain, right? And trust me, the results are going to be so worth it. Imagine waking up with skin like porcelain, like a goddess. My eyes darted to the chat, where the comments were morphing from excited anticipation to frantic warnings. Guys, relax. It's all part of the process. You know how these extreme peels are. They're intense, but they're also incredibly effective. Just stick with me and you'll see. We're going to transform together. Think of this as a beauty ritual, a sacred transformation. I could feel something shifting beneath my skin, a subtle, unsettling movement. Isn't it amazing how quickly it works? Like, it's really getting deep, you know? It's like it's changing me from the inside out. Ha, ha, ha. Don't you just love that feeling? That transformative feeling? 15 minutes, the recommended time, the point of no return. My face throbbed, a pulsing, agonizing ache. This is more than I expected. Maybe I should rinse it off now. I rushed to the bathroom, desperate to wash it off. But as I touched my skin, a large patch peeled away. Panic seized me, my hands shaking as I frantically splashed water on my face. But it only made it worse. My skin sloughed off in sheets like wet paper. My pores dilated, oozing a thick, viscous fluid. My reflection was a horror show, a grotesque parody of my former self. I stumbled back to the studio, my vision blurring with tears. I looked at the mirror, and my blood ran cold. Something was moving under my skin, squirming, writhing. It felt like insects, like worms, desperate to escape. Release me. A voice rasped from my throat, not mine. My fingers slick with the viscous ooze, trembled as I fiddled with the camera's focus. Just a little adjustment. We wouldn't want to miss any of the magic happening, would we? The shifting beneath my skin intensified, a frantic, desperate struggle. It's like a butterfly, you know, in its chrysalis, going through its metamorphosis. A beautiful, glorious transformation. The burning intensified, a searing, white-hot pain that made me want to scream. But the smile on my face remained fixed, an unnaturally wide, grotesque grin. Almost there, I crooned, my voice a distorted parody of my usual cheerful tone. Almost perfect. My eyes widened, not in fear, but in a strange, detached fascination. I watched as my reflection began to change, the smooth porcelain skin warping and twisting, forming grotesque alien shapes. Look at what it's doing. It's rebuilding me, making me better. The final layer of skin peeled away, revealing the grotesque alien face beneath. But even as I stared at the horrifying visage, it began to smooth out, to reshape itself. The warped features softened, the alien contours melted away, and a new face emerged. A face that was even more beautiful than my own. Perfect. Finally, perfect. Now, where were we?
I was once a poor man in a village of craftsmen, where our calloused hands outnumbered the gold we had ever seen. We worked from dawn until dusk, shaping wood, carving stone, and hammering metal, yet we could barely afford to fill our bowls with barley and wine. But I had heard the stories of a king blessed by the gods, a man whose very touch could turn anything into gold. Midas. The elders warned that his gift had been a curse, that the gods, in their twisted humor, had made him suffer for his greed. But I had always laughed at such tales. How could wealth be a curse? I wished, I longed to be like Midas. And then the gods answered me. It was an ordinary afternoon when I walked down to the Pactolus River, a bundle of filthy garments slung over my shoulder. I dipped my hands into the water, swirling the fabric in slow circles. The current curled around my fingers, and for a moment, it felt different. Thicker, heavier. Then I pulled the cloth from the water, and it gleamed. At first, I thought the sun was playing tricks on my eyes. But no, it was real. The fabric had turned into solid gold. I gasped, nearly dropping it. My hands trembled. I reached for a stone by the riverbank, my fingers closing around its smooth surface. The moment my skin met the rock, it transformed. A golden pebble sat in my palm. Was this a trick of the gods? A cruel illusion? I had to know. I grabbed a branch. Gold. A rusty dagger. Gold. I let out a cry of triumph and ran back to the village, my arms full of golden relics. I was like Midas. The villagers were speechless when I showed them my power. I turned bowls, tools, and even entire doorways into gold. Our village was no longer poor. That night, we celebrated. The elders hailed me as a chosen one of the gods. My parents wept with joy. I sat at the head of the feast, basking in admiration, letting the villagers serve me as if I were their king. Finally, I had everything I had ever dreamed of, until I grew hungry. The first bite of bread turned cold and heavy between my teeth. Gold. The cup of wine froze into unyielding metal as I lifted it to my lips. I tried again, grasping a fig, an olive, a piece of roasted lamb. Everything transformed, my stomach twisted with fear. I could not eat. My father tried to comfort me, saying they would find a way. My mother broke the bread into tiny pieces and pushed it into my mouth, her hands trembling. I let them feed me, swallowing without tasting. It was humiliating. But if that was the price of my power, so be it. I could endure it, because I was more than a man now. I was a god. Or so I thought. Then came the day I lost everything. Callista, my love, my future. I sprinted to catch her as she fell, relief flooding me, until, before my eyes, her warmth faded. Her skin hardened, her breath stilled. She was turning into gold. I screamed. I held her, pleading with the gods to take back their gift. But no miracle came. The villagers gathered around, their eyes filled with terror. They saw now. I was not blessed. I was cursed. They recoiled from me, whispering of omens, of punishment from the gods. Someone, one of my own friends, muttered that my hands should be severed, that it was the only way to stop the curse. Others resisted. They still wanted gold. They still wanted more. Greed outweighed fear. And then, the others came. They too had bathed in the Pactolus River. At first I thought I was no longer alone, but they could not control their power. They touched their loved ones, their children, and turned them to gold. And then came the sickness. It began with a cough, a few specks of gold dust, then more, until their lungs filled with golden shards, until they coughed up their insides, choking on their own cursed wealth. Bodies collapsed in the streets, their skin glittering with death. The untainted villagers turned against us. They hunted us like wild animals. I watched as they pinned men down, hacked their hands from their bodies with dull axes. The screaming never stopped. I ran and ran. But gold was everywhere now. The trees, the rivers, the fields. It had spread like an infection. There was nothing left. This was my fault. If I did not stop it, the world itself would become a golden tomb. I knelt on the ground, placed my hands on a block of stone, took a deep breath, raised the axe, and struck pain, blinding, soul-ripping pain. Blood spurted in thick rivers as my severed hands hit the ground. And just like that, the curse vanished. The gold rotted. Everything I had ever touched, the houses, the tools, the statues, Callista, it all crumbled into nothingness. I reached for her, but there was no one left to hold, only dust. Now I was neither God nor man, just a broken creature, left behind in the ashes of his own greed.
You probably know me, or used to know me. The body positivity girl, the one who kept it real. People liked how thin I was, and praised me for listening to my body, while they were still struggling to accept theirs. Then they say I'm a fraud. They say my message is twisted, that I hide cruelty behind pastel filters and cheerful affirmations. But I've always been honest. Only eat when you're truly hungry. That was my mantra, my truth. It kept me disciplined, controlled, pure. But something has changed. One morning, I woke up to a mess in the kitchen. The fridge door was wide open, milk dripping down the shelves, half-eaten apples, protein bars torn from their wrappers and crumbled on the floor. My jaw tightened. I lived alone, and I hadn't touched any of that. Was someone in my apartment? The idea of an intruder terrified me. Someone watching me, entering while I slept. I couldn't sleep the next night, so I ordered a home security camera and set it up in the kitchen. The next morning, my stomach turned before I even looked at the footage. More crumbs. A banana peel in the sink. The smell of peanut butter lingering in the air. I opened the app and pressed play. What I saw made my blood run cold. It was me, stumbling into the kitchen at 3:12 a.m., barefoot, eyes open but empty. I looked, possessed. I grabbed whatever I could, cold chicken, spoonfuls of almond butter, even raw oats straight from the container. My mouth moved too fast, too wide. I chewed like I'd been starving for days. I didn't remember any of it. The next day, I threw away everything. Every snack, every spice, every emergency granola bar. I left only a single container with a carefully measured 300-calorie meal. That was enough. That was all I needed. I would not let my body betray me again. But it did. The next morning, I woke up with threads on my tongue. At first, I thought it was a bad dream, but my pillows were torn, foam and feathers scattered across the room. The edge of the sofa had bite marks, actual bite marks. My teeth ached, my gums were bleeding. I watched the footage with shaking hands. There I was again, wandering the apartment. But this time, I didn't go to the kitchen. I tore through my closet, biting fabric, chewing on tank tops and socks. Then I turned to the couch, ripping at the seams, shoving stuffing into my mouth with terrifying hunger. I fell to the ground and dry heaved, but I couldn't stop watching. I called Jay, my boyfriend. I hadn't planned to tell him, but I was scared. I think I'm sleep eating. He came over that night, holding my trembling hands, promising,
I'll stay with you. We'll get through this.
I slept beside him that night. For the first time in days, I felt safe. Until I woke up in a hospital bed. White lights, white sheets, white walls. Then the door opened. Jay wasn't there. One officer stepped inside. Behind him, a doctor with a clipboard and tired eyes.
You're awake.
The officer said, "Where is he? Where's Jay?" They exchanged glances.
We need to show you something.
It was night vision footage from Jay's phone. He must have been filming me to help figure out what was happening. The angle was shaky, but clear enough. I watched as I sat up in bed. Jay stirred, whispered something. I turned to him, then lunged. My limbs flailed, sharp and unnatural. My mouth latched onto his arm, tearing into flesh. He screamed, kicked, tried to run. I dragged him down. Blood. So much blood. He broke free and locked himself in the bathroom, phone still recording. He was crying, begging someone to come.
Please, she's not herself.
I stopped watching. I couldn't breathe. No, that's not me. That's not me. But it was. They found him, alive, barely. He called the police, said I tried to eat him. Eat him. They placed me under psychiatric observation. Apparently, it's called nocturnal sleep-related eating disorder, but no one had ever seen a case like this. The doctor said the level of psychological suppression I'd maintained, denial of hunger, hatred of weakness, could have mutated my subconscious into something monstrous. That's why they keep me here now, strapped to a bed. No mirrors, no utensils. My meals are liquid, monitored, rationed. They don't want me to chew, but I still feel it. The need, the craving, not for food. I've tried screaming, reasoning. I tell them I'm better, that I've learned, that I'll eat real food now. I'll eat cake, I'll eat bread, I'll eat anything, please, just... But when the lights go off, it happens again. At night, the hunger takes over. The straps strain against my skin. My jaw clenches. My mouth waters. The nurses say I growl in my sleep. One of them swore they saw me smile while dreaming. I used to say, only eat when you're truly hungry. Now, I'm starving.
Like every other day, I sat at my familiar wooden table beneath the ancient oak tree. My deck of tarot cards lay before me, waiting for the next seeker of fate. People came and went, some hopeful, others desperate. They asked about love, wealth, or guidance. And I, Bianca, the village's most trusted fortune teller, gave them glimpses of the future. My accurate prophecies had earned me fame, but that meant little to me. What truly brought me happiness was my quiet life with my husband. Suddenly, an old woman in a black cloak appeared. I waited for her to ask for a reading, but she remained silent. Instead, she drew the death card and placed it on the table. I had seen it many times before. It could mean change, endings, or even rebirth, but this time, it meant only one thing: death. I looked up, but she was gone. Only the card remained. A chill crept through me. I grabbed my things and left. When I finally reached home, I shuffled my deck with trembling hands and drew 3 cards. The Empress. The Hanged Man. Death. I stared at them, cold fear settling into my bones. The wheel of fate had already begun to turn. The next day, a royal messenger knocked on my door.
The Duchess has summoned you!
My hands tightened around the parchment. I had already seen this moment unfold in my reading, but I had no choice. The Duchess sat before me, her hands clasped tightly as she fought to maintain her composure. She gripped my hands.
My husband vanished during a hunt days ago. Tell me where he is!
I calmed the Duchess, then focused on shuffling the cards. The cards never lie. I drew a card, the Devil. A suffocating silence filled the room. I see darkness, fangs, blood. He may have met a terrible end. The Duchess's expression twisted with fury.
You dare say my husband is dead? Are you cursing him with your filthy magic?
No, my lady. The cards only speak the truth.
Get out!
I lowered my head and left without another word. Hours later, news reached the castle. The Duke had been found, his body torn apart, mauled beyond recognition, by a bear. The Duchess screamed, and then she sent her soldiers for me. My husband and I fled into the night. Shadows twisted around the trees, the branches clawing at me like skeletal fingers. The pounding of hooves and the glint of torches chased us into the forest. We can't outrun them, I gasped, clutching my husband's arm. He turned to me, his eyes shadowed with quiet determination.
You need to run, Bianca. I'll distract the soldiers.
When his warm hand touched my face, it jolted me awake. I cried, shaking violently. No, I'm not leaving without you. The soldiers were nearly upon us. With one last smile, he shoved me ahead, drew his dagger and lunged toward them. I fled in panic, my heart pounding wildly. Behind me, the sounds of clashing steel and desperate screams echoed through the air. When silence finally fell, I turned back, clinging to the frail hope that my husband still lived. But what I saw froze me in place. His corpse swayed gently from a tree branch carried by the wind. A choked sob escaped my throat. The hanged man. Everything was unfolding exactly as the cards had foretold. Fate was drawing near to the death card. I couldn't cry. Tears wouldn't change destiny. But I would have my revenge. The Duchess would pay with her life. I was ready to pay any price, even death. I began the ritual and gave myself to the darkness because pain had taken everything from me. The symbols I once feared were now etched into my mind, and I was ready to offer my soul to make their power mine. The cards appeared before me one last time. Ace of Cups, 3 of Swords, the Star. That night, in her grand dining hall, the Duchess raised a glass of wine to her lips. Ace of Cups. The poison worked swiftly, burning through her veins. She choked, gasping for air as her body shook uncontrollably. In her panic, she grabbed the tablecloth and dragged the whole table down with her. As she fell, 3 knives from the table stabbed deep into her back, just like the 3 of Swords predicted. Her breath came in shallow, painful gasps. Then a candle fell from its holder corresponding to the Star card. The fire raged fiercely, consuming everything in its path. Her screams were lost in the inferno. I fell to my knees as dark smoke wrapped around me. It sank deep into my body, tying me to something beyond this world. When I opened my eyes, I saw someone's hand reaching out to me. The tarot cards were placed beside me. It turned out my soul was trapped within the card. Death. The wheel of fate has stopped. No one can escape their own destiny.
They say a musician leaves behind their songs. I wanted more. I was 30, a songwriter with calloused fingers, champagne in my veins, and a belief, no, a conviction, that my DNA deserved immortality. The world needed more of me. Perfect versions, dozens, hundreds. Hospitals limited donations, 10 maximum, but loopholes were everywhere. I found brokers, desperate clinics, underground networks, couples who'd pay for strong bloodlines. I sold vials from my apartment, hotel sinks, public bathrooms, each labeled by hand, premium donor. It thrilled me. Sometimes I'd mix my sperm with another man's, just to see whose DNA would win. I called it genetic roulette, natural selection, fast-forwarded. I made videos, always well lit, shirt unbuttoned, just enough to show off the tattoo on my collarbone. I'd say to the camera, "Your legacy is the only thing that lasts. My children will rise. My bloodline will build empires. My YouTube channel, Johnny, father of many, and soon they came. At first, just a trickle, nervous young adults knocking on my inbox. DNA kits pointed them here. I found you, one said. You gave me life. Another sobbed. A girl said we shared the same laugh. I cried with her, felt godlike. But then the second wave arrived. They didn't smile, they stared, glassy-eyed, cold. One man brought a photograph. His child slumped in a wheelchair, with an exposed spinal column spiraling outside the skin like a grotesque tail. The boy's eyes were on either side of his head.
This is your grandson,
he whispered. A woman played a video, a creature writhing on the floor, limbs twitching in opposite directions, mouth in the center of her neck. It opened and said, "Daddy?" Then came Emma and Eli, a beautiful couple, pale, gaunt, hands clasped tight. They sat on my porch and said,
We had 7.
I smiled, until they added,
We're siblings.
My stomach dropped. They showed me photos of their children, bloated heads, hairless bodies. One fused to his twin at the abdomen. One had no eyes, just hollows that blinked.
You've flooded the gene pool,
Eli hissed.
Your blood is in everyone. We didn't know, no one knew.
I tried to laugh it off, said I didn't force anyone, that I was helping people, that I was building legacy. But they didn't leave, and they weren't alone. More came. They camped outside my apartment, left dead animals on my doorstep. One night, I found my own YouTube videos playing on every device in my home. Autoplay, my voice on loop. You are your blood. Then I blacked out. I woke strapped to a cold metal slab in a room that smelled of piss, bleach, and rotting meat. Above me, lights buzzed and flickered like they were dying. Around me, figures, dozens. Some crawled, some walked with twisted joints. Others hovered in the corners, swaying like meat puppets on invisible strings. Their skin, blistered, translucent, veined in black and purple. Some had hair like mine, eyes like mine, but their faces, misshapen, asymmetrical, split. One girl had a jaw that opened vertically. Another had no lips, just exposed gums that bled as she smiled. And in front, the creature bearing both Emma and Eli's faces, but only one body. Clad in a surgical apron, its eyes had become sunken pits of sickly yellow.
They're my brothers and sisters. They did not survive.
I screamed as they sliced open my skin without hesitation. The pain wasn't sharp. It was wet, like my body was splitting open like fruit.
You gave us life. Now, we give it back.
They grafted a third eye into my forehead. They sewed an arm, small, malformed, into my chest. It twitched like it had its own heartbeat. They stitched something alive into my spine. I felt it wriggle. It laughed.
It's your grandson. He'll keep you company.
They didn't kill me. They kept me. In a concrete room lined with mirrored walls, I was strapped to a chair, wires embedded in my scalp. My old videos played constantly. Your children will find you. Your DNA is your kingdom. I watched them now, horrified, as the reflections stared back. Not just me, but versions of me. Glitched, mutated, arms twitching, face sagging. The third eye blinked out of sync. The parasite in my back pulsed like a second heart. Every day, a new one arrives. They kneel before me like I'm a god, but their prayers are curses. Their hymns are sobs. They cry from mouths that never should have existed. I don't sleep. I can't. Sometimes the arm on my chest strokes my face. Sometimes the third eye shows me visions of creatures howling in hospital cribs. They call me Origin. I call myself a mistake. The worst part? I still recognize myself in them. In their pain, in their fury, in the way they stare at me not like a father, but a failed blueprint. My voice once said, children are the mirror of their parents. Now I understand. Mirrors break, and when they shatter, the shards return, not to reflect, but to cut